Thank you, Mr Holborn. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I congratulate the honourable member for Newport West for securing this important debate, which has clearly triggered many views from opposing directions. Very grateful to all those who've contributed, including members for Ynys Môn, Cynon Valley, Carmarthen East and Dynefo, Ceredigion, Neath, and of course opposition spokesperson from Merthyr Tydfil and Rumney. So I'm pleased to have this opportunity to discuss the recent spring budget and my right honourable friend, the Chancellor's plan for long-term, sustainable, healthy growth in Wales and across the United Kingdom. And I will come to questions raised by honourable members in due course. But I was incredibly pleased to see my right honourable friends, the Prime Minister and Secretary of State for Wales, on Ynys Môn last week, announcing not just one but two new free ports for Wales. The jobs and investment that will come as a result of this announcement will help deliver on our commitments to level up Wales and grow the economy. And the fact that we've been able to deliver two free ports for Wales jointly with Welsh Government is a testament to what can be achieved when the two governments work together, Mr Chairman. Now, we saw friendly competitors from Ynys Môn and Preseli, Pembrokeshire, sat next to each other earlier, and both of them had a critical role to play in that development, so many thanks to them. Now, earlier this month, my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, set out a budget that ensures that the benefits of economic growth are felt everywhere, including in Wales. It promotes the conditions for enterprise to succeed and encourages the inactive back into employment. At the autumn statement in 2022, the government took the difficult decisions needed on tax and spending to restore economic stability, support public services and lay the foundation for long-term growth. And at the spring budget of just 2 weeks ago, the government built on this foundation with a plan to deliver on three of the Prime Minister's 5 key priorities: to get debt falling, halve inflation and grow the economy. I'd like to first highlight the funding that the budget included for multiple projects which will specifically benefit Wales. We're supporting restoration of the Grade 2 listed Holyhead Breakwater with £20 million of funding for the Welsh Government to ensure the long-term viability of this vital transport hub and trade links with Ireland through it. And my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, set out that the government will provide up to £20 billion of funding over the next 2 decades to support the development of carbon capture, utilisation and storage. Not something we've otherwise heard about today, but the HyNet cluster in North East Wales and North West England is already benefiting from our existing £1 billion commitment through the cluster sequencing programme. And decarbonising heavy industry is vital to driving economic growth and creating high-quality, sustainable jobs across the region, whilst helping us meet our climate commitments. This increased £20 billion ambition will further expand CCUS across industry, which will be vital for economic growth across Wales. And the government's launching Great British Nuclear to address constraints in the nuclear market and support new nuclear builds as the government works towards net zero. We know that...
We mentioned, of course, that an SMR at Trawsfynydd, there's a site as well as at Wilver, is very much in the anticipation. He'll also be aware that there are proposals for a national medical isotope centre at Trawsfynydd known as Project Arthur. Could he update us on what discussions have been with Welsh Government in bringing this forward? Because there are concerns that there will be a shortage as reactors across Europe and across the world cease to produce in future, and when it comes to medical security for the United Kingdom, that there is a real potential here.
Yeah. The right honourable lady is quite right to raise that point, and if I may, I will write to her with the latest position on it. But I think she may also find that there will be announcements in the relatively near future on Great British Nuclear and their plans, which may also assist in that regard. And we know that Wales has the best British sites for new nuclear, including in her constituency, Trawsfynydd, but also Wilver Newydd, of course. And I look forward to working with GBN to champion a revived nuclear future for North Wales. Investment zones have been raised, and Wales will also benefit from the government delivering 12 investment zones across the UK, including at least one in Wales. And this programme will provide each successful area with up to £80 million over 5 years to grow a cluster in one of our key future sectors, bringing investment into areas which have traditionally underperformed economically. The UK Government's working with devolved administrations to develop an investment zone programme for each of Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. In addition, the UK Government and devolved administrations will work together to explore potential options for delivery of new levelling up partnerships in Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, such as those announced for England by the Chancellor in the budget. The budget sets out a number of measures which will create the right conditions for enterprise in Wales in all sectors based on competitive taxes, access to capital and smarter regulation. We will support growth in Wales by attracting the most productive companies to set up, invest and grow in Wales and the rest of the UK. And we expect around 220,000 businesses in Wales to benefit from a range of administrative changes to simplify the tax system, allowing Welsh SMEs to spend more time on their business and less on meeting their tax obligations. Now, during the debate, there were a multitude of questions on all sorts of issues. I will do my best to try and address as many of those now. I should declare that I'm a member of the BMA, although I don't expect to benefit from the pension changes myself, but I met the chair of the BMA, Phil Banfield, last week, who I know from his time as a consultant at Glenclwyd Hospital, and Glenclwyd, like many in Wales, of course, is struggling, as the Healthcare Inspectorate Wales report detailed yet again today. And so actually anything that can help to retain doctors, senior doctors' hours and their presence in departments is certainly to be welcomed. My honourable friend...
But isn't it the case that the people who will benefit from these new arrangements are not just doctors, but many, many, many other wealthy people?
Well, I think inevitably those who are at the pinnacle of their careers or the conclusion of their careers often are earning a lot more, but they also have a great deal to offer the economy and society in general. And it's difficult to be too black and white about this in terms of who is of benefit and who we need to retain in the workforce. But he will know that the budget was centred around, in some respects, trying to ensure that the workforce is there for the economy that we need. My honourable friend, the member for Ynys Môn, referenced childcare. I do hope Welsh Government does replicate the offer for parents of children between the ages of 9 months and 4 years old to have the 30 hours free childcare, and isn't different for the sake of it, as the First Minister appeared to be suggesting the other day. Shared Prosperity Fund was raised. This is a complicated matter, but the Welsh Government has alleged that Wales is being shortchanged. However, I would argue that it has flawed and hypothetical assumptions, and actually Welsh Government officials in the Finance Committee in Cardiff Bay have broadly accepted this, is my understanding. It is important to compare like with like. The SPF is only intended to replace the European Regional Development Fund and the European Social Fund. The remaining funds covering agriculture and fisheries, of course, are accessed through other means. And there are different time periods that you can look at. It's not just when the funding's received, it's when it's spent. And funds do ramp up and down in the UK Government's intentions, as they did through the EU. And the Institute for Fiscal Studies has validated the UK Government's approach. I would also emphasise the fact that the local growth funds, including the Levelling Up Fund and the Community Ownership Fund, are in addition to the Shared Prosperity Fund. And so actually Wales has a record level of investment coming from the UK Government.
You mentioned the Shared Prosperity Fund, and obviously it's significant investment that could transform communities across Wales. You also highlighted the positive joint working that Welsh Government and UK Government had on free ports. Why does he think the UK Government has frozen out the Welsh Government in the case of the Shared Prosperity Fund? When there's an example of good working together, why can't that apply across the board?
Yeah. Well, my understanding is that Welsh Government does feed into has been feeding into the general approach to Shared Prosperity Fund allocation. I know in my local area there is a Welsh Government representative on the body that helps to advise over the funding. So there are a range of contributors, as there should be, looking, and there is proper devolution is the key point in actual fact, in that the local authorities themselves are taking the leading role. I will move on quickly to universities, and members are right to raise this because, of course, universities in Wales have been dependent on European structural funds. Now, my understanding is that Universities Wales have consistently expressed concerns that Welsh Government don't invest an equal amount in Welsh universities compared to what happens in England, and they've also highlighted that the lower level of core funding places Welsh universities at a disadvantage compared to their counterparts in England when competing for UK-wide R&D funding opportunities. But to be constructive, I would also emphasise that the Secretary of State for Wales has asked universities to provide the details of the economic value of programmes which were previously funded by EU structural funds. So that's something that he and I are very interested in trying to assist them with.
Can the Minister categorically assure us, though, £71 million bridging fund that is urgently needed to plug the gap will be provided in time to save the over 1,000 jobs that are at risk imminently in Wales in the HE sector?
Well, she will know that devolution is in place and that actually Welsh Government has a role to play here, and what I can assure her is that this is an issue that I take very seriously, as does the Secretary of State, and we are working with universities to assist them. Time is marching on, and I must progress. To support employment in Wales and across the UK, the UK Government is helping parents in universal credit who are moving into work or looking to increase their working hours by making sure they have support for childcare up front. We're also increasing support for those parents on UC by increasing the childcare maximum entitlement to over £950 for one child and over £1,630 for 2 children. And I was hoping to go on and talk further about the very comprehensive cost of living support that is in place for large numbers of people, everyone in fact, and assistance with the cost of energy, which I don't have the time to do, but I am always happy to liaise directly with honourable and right honourable members with their specific questions. But in order to be able to hand back to the honourable member to Newport West to sum up, I would once again thank her for bringing forward this important debate. It's useful to have a discussion of all the matters raised, and I look forward to doing my bit to help support the people of Wales as we continue through this difficult period.
Ruth.